What's going on, everybody? Good afternoon. Welcome back. Hope you guys are doing well today. And we've got more left guard candidates to look at here in free agency. We're still obviously looking at the lower level guys. These are the guys you sign mostly to be backups. Veteran backups, definitely a market out there for that. Now, some of these guys, or maybe even all of these guys, could be considered as a starter, but you're asking for it. If you sign any of these players as a starter, you're asking for trouble, and you're probably going to get what you pay for. And in this case, that's not a good thing. So keep that in mind as we go forward here. I know none of these players are going to be super intriguing, but there is a place in the world for them. It's just not starting 17 games or even 12 games or 10. It's starting like 3, maybe. Hopefully none, but stuff happens. First guy we're going to look at here is John Feliciano. John Feliciano, been in the league quite some time now, coming up on what, 10 years? I think he's been in the league 10 years now, about to turn 33, so age is becoming a concern. He's built a pretty good career, played for Oakland, played for the Bills, played for the Giants, spent last 2 years actually with the 49ers. He's played a lot of football, he's seen a lot of things, and he offers some real nice flexibility with what he can do at the offensive line position. So, like, I'll just go ahead and lead with this. He did not play in 2024. He didn't play a snap in 2024. So, you're talking about a guy who hasn't played in a meaningful game of football in over a year now. So, take that for what it is when you're considering Feliciano. But he played very well in 2023, which was the last time he played. He played about half the season, allowed 0 sacks in 257 pass blocking snaps. Decent amount of pressure, but overall, he played really good football in both pass blocking and run blocking. And he played everywhere. He played a lot at right guard. He played a lot at left guard. He played a little bit at center. So he's giving you some flexibility here. He's giving you some freedom to maybe pursue less players in free agency at the other interior offensive line positions because you already have him kind of guarding you in the event of injuries happening. So there's going to be a little bit of additional value there as well. Go back to 2022. He played basically the whole season. Not nearly as good. This was when he was on the Giants, though. The Giants did make the playoffs this year. And his play was not bad or anything. He did play the whole season at center also, so I don't know how much we're taking away from this because we're mostly evaluating him as a potential left guard. And the year before that, again, mediocre, maybe not even mediocre, maybe a little below average, played about 440 snaps, mostly at left guard though, so a little more meaningful for us. Numbers are workable, passable, decent, no sacks allowed, but decent amount of pressure allowed. It's not bad or anything. But when you combine all this with his age, this might be kind of like his final gasp as a good player in the league. And it was 2 years ago now, and it was in Shanahan's offense. So I think we have to take his accomplishments with a little bit of a caveat, understanding that when you play in the Shanahan offense as an offensive lineman, you might look better than you are. Now, Spotrac estimates 1 year, 1.4 million. I think it'll be a little bit more than that because he did play so well in 2023, but it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, he is old and he didn't play last year. So maybe you're talking about something in this vein. I think that would make a decent amount of sense. And as a backup, I think that's pretty workable. Okay. Next guy is going to be Royce Newman. Royce Newman, 4th round pick of the Packers a few years ago. Spent 3 years with the Packers, played a decent amount for them, and then spent last year in Tampa Bay. Now, we're not really going to talk about what he did in Tampa Bay because he didn't play. He played 3 snaps all year, meant nothing. So we're not going to learn anything from 2024. 2023 is the only year where we can really learn anything, and he was graded very poorly by Pro Football Focus in an admittedly small sample size. 183 snaps, 44.3 grade. That's really bad. It was almost all at left guard, though, so at least we have that going for us. Gave up a pretty good amount of pressure, so we're not thrilled with anything we see here. But I think he's good enough to play in the NFL, just not good enough to, well, play in the NFL. I think you guys get what I'm getting at here. Botrack estimates 1 year 1.3 million, so just over vet min. I view this guy as a little bit more of a vet min guy personally, but the difference is insignificant. The difference between 1.1 or 1.3 million is not really worth quibbling over. Point is, he's a backup, and if you sign this guy as a starter, you're asking for trouble. I don't even know if he's a left guard. He has certainly played left guard before, but I don't really know what he is. I certainly wouldn't count on him being a particularly good player for you. So Royce Newman belongs in the NFL, but not by much. I don't even know if he should be like a backup. Maybe he should be like a practice squatter, but he is somebody who's going to get something this offseason because, for whatever it's worth, he's kind of young. He's entering his prime. He should be playing his best football these next 3-4 years. So we'll see where it goes, but this one's a little bit of a tough sell because we've seen so little good from him at the left guard position. Aaron Stinney. Aaron Stinney would be the next consideration. Another guy who's starting to get a little old, about to turn 31. Played for the Giants last year, played for Tampa Bay before that, played for the Titans as a rookie. Never really played a ton of football. He did start 11 games in 2023 for the Bucks. Other than that, he's been a pure backup in his career. So you go to 2024 when he was a backup on the Giants. I mean, pretty bad, pretty down there. One of the worst ranking guards in the league. He did play basically the whole season at left guard, but it was only 193 snaps, allowed 7 pressures, 127 pass block snaps. We don't love it. I mean, there's not much to say about any of this. I mean, he's playing on the Giants, though. Life's hard for a Giant. The year before that, when he actually played most of the season, grade was okay, about average, 56.6. Not the end of the world. And he played it all at left guard, so he showed something. Tampa Bay's offensive line was really good that year. Allowed probably more pressure than you're comfortable with. 29 is not great for 442 snaps, but I guess in the grand scheme of things, it's not the worst thing. Only 2 sacks, 4 penalties. None of these things are terrible, but the pressure rate's a little bit higher than you would like. But again, that's why he is, if anything in this league, a backup. You sign this guy to be your backup, and if he plays, you know that he's generally competent. But if you sign him as a starter, you're probably going to be a little disappointed with what you get, and you're back in the same place you were with Laken Tomlinson. And I would prefer this guy to Laken Tomlinson because he's a little younger, and has been more recent evidence of him able to play competently, but this is a guy who didn't even play a snap in 2022, by the way, if you look at it. So there's not a lot of difference between Aaron Stinney and some random undrafted rookie free agent. Botrack says 1 year, 1.2 million, so basically veteran minimum. I mean, you can't go that wrong with it, I guess. But again, you're signing him to be a pure backup. If you sign this guy to start, you're gonna be very disappointed in what you get. And that would indicate to me that John Schneider is doing what he's done before, which is try to go cheap here and just hope to get away with it. And sometimes you do get away with it, but that doesn't mean you should try to get away with it every time, and most of the time you won't. So that's Aaron Stinney. One more guy for this video. It's Ben Bredeson. Drafted by the Ravens a few years ago. Played on Tampa Bay last year. Actually has played a good amount of football these last few years. Has started every game the last 2 seasons across the Giants and the Buccaneers. So this one's actually not so bad. This is a guy who could, I guess, get signed as a starter. I think that it would probably be a mistake. For whatever it's worth in 2024, there are some people that think pretty highly of him. Remember, Tampa Bay's offensive line was considered to be among the best in football, and he was a full-time starter on that offensive line. Now, Pro Football Focus would tell you that he wasn't good. He was below average. Not quite bad, but close to bad. So 6 penalties, more than you would like. He played a lot. 2 sacks, that's okay. 34 pressures, not the worst, given he had almost 700 pass blocking reps, and he played the whole season at left guard. But for me personally, I if you take this guy out of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, because remember, in Tampa Bay, he's got maybe the best left tackle in football to his immediate left, and he's got great teammates to his right as well. Like, we're talking about some cream of the crop stuff in Tampa Bay. You take him away from that, he might not look nearly as good. And Pro Football Focus clearly thinks that, by the way. That's why these grades are so mediocre, even though he's a starter on an elite offensive line. They think that he is a product of the system, and they believe that if you take him out of that system, you're going to get a more mediocre, maybe not even mediocre player, which, fair enough. The previous year, by the way, he was ranked terribly, one of the worst players at his position in football. Now, he did play three different positions: right guard, left guard, center, jumped around, didn't play that much left guard, but at the same time, gave up a ton of pressures, gave up a lot of sacks, good amount of penalties too. I mean, it's the Giants, right? But this kind of goes to what PFF is suggesting. This is a below average player who looked really bad on a really bad team and then looked good on an elite team, elite offensive line at least. So if you take him out of that scenario and you look at the Seahawks, yeah, you've got Charles Cross, and Charles Cross is really good. Abe Lucas is pretty good too, but he's not going to have what he had in Tampa Bay protecting him. So this one's a little bit dicey. I understand that somebody might fall into the trap of thinking, oh, this is a starting caliber player, but that might be a little bit of a sucker bet. And by the way, Spotrac sees it that way as well. They think he's getting the veteran minimum, basically $1.1 million on 1 year. I could see him getting a little bit more than this because he did play decently in 2024, but there's a reason why Spotrac doesn't feel like he is that kind of guy. There's a reason why Spotrac is putting him here. They think he's more comparable to other just marginal players that belong in the league, but not by much, and that he was fortunate enough to be part of a great unit in 2024. That being said, I mean, you would definitely do this, right? You would definitely sign him for veteran minimum to be a backup. He showed enough to indicate that he can be a competent backup. But again, these guys, sign them as a starter, it's probably going to end very poorly. And the fan base has had enough of this, right? Like, the one guy you've had who showed he was at least capable of playing above average football at the left guard spot, you let go in free agency, tried to get by with a cheaper option at left guard. Honestly, even the previous good option, which was, of course, Damian Lewis, even that's questionable because he was a right guard and you moved him over because it was cheaper than trying to find an actual left guard. And before Damian Lewis, look at what you were trying to get away with at the left guard spot. What was it? I think we had Mike Upati, signing him for super cheap every offseason and hoping he'd survive, knowing that his body was breaking down. Before then, you can't even remember all the names we had starting at left guard. We kept trying to get away with stuff after James Carpenter. And look, the James Carpenter pick didn't really work out the way we wanted it to. It was okay. But that doesn't mean you spend the rest of your life refusing to spend significant assets on a left guard, especially now with the way the position has changed. So I think any of these guys, with the exception of probably Royce Newman, would be adequate backups, but I'm not going to go any further than that. You could talk me into Ben Bredesen, I guess, because he is young and he did play a lot the last couple years, but I don't know. It just seems like a sucker bet to me. All right. More videos coming soon. See you guys couple of hours. And remember, Bleacher Report tonight. Be there. And everyone have a good day. Go Hawks.